So, since the last lesson, um, I've been playing pretty frequently, and I've been trying to like keep track of like my thoughts, like things I want to kind of bring to you.
Mhm.
The biggest things I think are like concerning to me right now are organizing my organizing my thoughts in general, like on matchups.
Yeah.
I feel like one thing that I've been struggling with is like I will work on a matchup for like a week or something, and then if I move on to something else,
Mhm.
um, when I come back to that matchup, a lot of the time it feels like my retention for like the information that I had learned like
Yeah.
throughout that week is just bad.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I want to work on like maybe kind of like figure out some strategies on how to organize my thoughts better. I can give you some ideas that I've had, but then another thing is mental drift. This is like kind of what I would describe it as, like when I am playing a game of Melee, um, I feel like it's very easy for me to lose focus.
Mhm.
Um, I think that the thing that causes it is like too much emotional attachment to the
Mhm.
game. And I think
Mhm.
I don't know, I kind of want to talk about that and like see your thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Um, and the last thing that's on my mind is like organizing playtime, like and how to effectively organize your playtime because I've been trying to make some changes. I've pretty much removed unranked from the repertoire altogether.
Mhm.
I've just been playing like focused sessions, and I replaced like playing for fun. I guess
Yeah.
I still think organize. I still think specific sessions are fun, but like what would normally be unranked, like mindless unranked, is now like just playing 64 or like playing. I've actually been playing a little bit of Ultimate, just
Nice.
like doing that instead of like playing my main game.
Mhm. Mhm. Uh, okay. I thought for the first thing, or like with the retention, I think that it's important not to like move off of a subject too quickly because I think it's really easy to feel like you are learning things and then are like, oh, I feel like I have some grasp of this concept. And then you're like, okay, time to go on. And then it's like you didn't actually have like a holistic grasp of it, but you were like kind of like just picking up on it. And I think something that Direct Fox says that I find pretty interesting with this specifically is he's always like, whenever I feel like I'm starting to understand something, I go even harder on it to like make sure that I like can like solidify my knowledge. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, and I feel like
And
it's pretty like it feels like the natural response is like, oh, I'm getting this thing, I'm chilling, I know it. But then you like do something pretty unrelated, then don't like hit it again for a while, and it's like you have to like essentially relearn the things that you just already. You have to like remember that. Oh yeah, that's the thing I was doing, whatever, and then
mhm.
pick it back up. Um, uh, I think for the second part, with like the mental drift kind of thing, I think that. Well, I guess why do you feel like it's an emotional thing where it's like you have too much investment in the game? What makes you feel that way?
I think that sometimes I get caught up in like the idea of winning.
Mm,
Like in my mind, I know that like it's not about win or lose most like unless you're playing like a tournament, I guess, which like even that's debatable. It
mm,
doesn't really matter if you win or lose, right? Like
yeah,
I don't necessarily think that I'm playing to win because like the way that I think about it is that winning does not equal uh being better at the game
yeah,
necessarily.
I
Like you
agree.
can totally be worse than someone and still
And then
beat
just
them.
win, yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. And so I kind of the way I want to approach it is like just playing well is
Hmm.
like going to be the best thing for winning in the long run. Like
Yeah.
if you play the game well, you should win. Like I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
obviously
I
there's
agree. There's caveats and a
hmm
million random variables, but like in a theoretical
yeah.
sense, that is just if you play well, you will win because good assumes a lot of things about like correct and all that stuff. So
hmm
yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, so I think that I just get like sometimes I guess I forget that or like I lose sight of that and then just like kind of I guess it's not nearly as much as like oh I want to win. It's more like I don't want to lose.
Hmm.
And because I feel like if I'm losing that means that I'm not making progress that I want. And then once I do start losing, I feel like it can snowball really fast.
Yeah.
And I like stop focusing basically. And then I don't know, like I kind of write off things. Like if I have a session where that I feel like that happens, I end up just like writing it off
Hmm.
like altogether. So I'm like, well, I biggest problem was the fact that I basically wasn't even paying attention. You know, I was just yeah. So like I don't even like look at those games half the time because it feels like it's not worth my time.
Hmm.
I just need to focus on actually focusing.
Yeah. I've had a similar experience when I was like playing Get Better and stuff. That would happen a lot to me where it's like I'd be playing X player and I'd be like shitting on them or whatever. But then like one type of interaction that I'm like focusing on is going wrong in a way that's like annoying me or maybe like is taking my attention in some way and I start like thinking about that and then I like am losing things because my focus is gone and then I'm annoyed playing against the person because it's like why is this person beating me? Wasn't I just shitting on them? And then it's like that whole circular cycle. And I feel like I think that the best way to approach situations like that from the standpoint of like retaining focus is recognize when there's like a thing that has specifically gotten your attention and is like, oh, that situation is just like, pissing me off. And then like you mark it in your head and then you kind of just like try and forget about it while you're playing and like focus on like whatever thing that you're actually trying to focus on. And like I think that um there's also something to be said about like kind of disconnecting yourself from the result of the game unless it has something specifically to do with like what you're working on. And I think if you can do that to some extent, obviously you're going to be playing against players and you're going to be like you're going to have ideas of those players' skill levels or of the like the decisions that they're making, and you can't do much about that. But I think the best you could do is just kind of like ignore it and then have a bigger thing that you are worrying about and then let that like be your be the basis of like the way you process things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, it's the biggest thing is it's like I always realize whenever I like have a moment with melee where it's like the way that I kind of explain it is I feel like there are times when every time I play I just get mad and I don't I've always had the opinion of my play where it's like I feel like I generally tend to play the same-ish skill level almost kind of regardless of like whether I'm emotional state or whatever. But like there are like small things that go wrong when I'm like upset or something, and then there's moments where I'm just like, I will simply not get mad at playing melee today, and essentially what that means is I will play the game and I will see that there may be things that might be things that are happening that are like trying to take my attention or being annoying, and I will simply just decide I this is not what I want to engage with. There are more pressing issues, and then I will like try my hardest to like shift to that. And generally, I feel like just by the intention of being like, I will not give this the time of day, has been very easy for me to like not get mad or lose focus or be annoyed by X things when I like explicitly decide that that is like a goal of like whatever session I'm having, right?
Yeah, I think I had a very similar experience because
Mm-hmm.
I used to get upset like all the time when I played,
Mm-hmm.
and I did have to go through that experience where I like made the decision to, and I feel like I kind of forgot about it until very recently.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe I just need to do that again. Kind of reminds me about another thing that I think is kind of like related, which is I struggle with the idea of like losing to people who I've previously beat.
Hmm. Hmm.
I feel like that leads to a lot of that.
Yes,
Um,
it feels very bad. Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, my conclusion has been like, okay, everybody is on their own journey and everybody is improving at their own rates. So
Hmm.
like, just because you beat somebody in their previous form does not mean that they cannot come back and be better. Like,
Yeah.
but it still kind of stings when like you feel like, oh my gosh, somebody who I used to, you know, routinely beat is now like on my level or maybe even above.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Um. Oh,
so I don't
you
know if
keep
you
going.
have strategies to deal with that, but
Yeah, I think that context does kind of matter because I feel like if you're in the phase of like, learning things about the game or like applying things that you're learning or like doing like fundamental or making fundamental changes to the way you approach the game, it's very common for you to like, I mean, improving in general. The one thing that fiction says that I like a lot is, and I mean, almost everyone says this for like whatever competitive thing is like, to get better, you have to get worse, right? You have to do different things that you're just like way worse at to like broaden your horizons essentially. And I
mhm,
think it's important to like remember like what your goals are in positions like those because it's like if you're sitting there, practicing new things or in the process of like changing the way you play or something, it will just kind of happen that you'll lose to players that like you probably are better than or would traditionally do better than. And I've had plenty of experiences like that where I play people that are like some of the easiest players in the world for me, and then I start focusing on like improving like small things, and it's like, oh my god, I lose games to this person. And it's like, well, that just kind of happens when like your focus is taken away from specifically being better than them, and then like putting it into improving whatever aspect of your play there is to improve. Um,
mhm,
and I think obviously it can happen where people just like can get better than you and start
mhm,
beating you up when um, you know just when that wasn't the case before. But I also think it's important to like when that happens to attempt to kind of ground yourself and like be specific about what has actually changed. Because what happens a
yeah,
lot of the time is it's like you have the person that was beating you up or that you beat up pretty easily before, and now you might be losing more games to them or losing um, a majority of the games to them. If you sit down and look at it, you'll be like, oh, this person just like plays this mix up a different way than he did before, and I just have not accounted for that. Or
mhm,
it's like, oh, they are doing this one new recovery that I haven't explicitly thought about, or like know how to edge guard well, and things like that. It seems like, oh, that's a minor. It's just one change. When a game like Melee, where like being up a stock is a generally pretty large lead that could snowball. It's like one thing going wrong or one thing going wrong three times in a game matters a lot and could actually just completely change like the tide of the outcome.
yeah,
So I think that's important to all of that, either whether you're improving or whether you're even if you're like trying to just play well and things are going different, to be as specific as you can about either your goals or like what is actually happening in the match, because it's really easy to just give it emotionally, but there's a lot of like underlying information there that you can work with.
mhm.
Do you have any thoughts on that or good?
Um, I think that that's all like really good information. I have kind of thought about that stuff before, but yeah, I mean, just hearing it, like it's very good to like stay grounded in like what is real
Mm-hmm.
instead of getting emotional about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so I think I just need to work on that, like be more proactive when I play about that kind of stuff, as
Mm-hmm.
well as being proactive about the gameplay itself.
Yeah, I agree. And it's not easy by any means either. I'm saying
Hmm.
it, and it's like these are the things you should do, but it's like
Hmm.
it is definitely difficult, and I mean that's why melee is like a lifestyle kind of thing. You have to
Yeah.
improve as a person in many ways to like be able to do the one thing in the game, right? So it's not easy, but it is
Hmm.
what you should at least strive for. Um,
Yeah.
and
So I
then
did.
oh, you go.
Uh, I was gonna say I did send you a couple Slippy files from yesterday where
Mhm.
I kind of was feeling. like this, like the stuff I was describing, where it was like, oh, I'm being like upset and like not necessarily thinking about the game as much as I should or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think it might be valuable to look over those and see like how it actually affects my gameplay.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a good thing. I assume that you haven't watched them.
Um, Let me remember. I watched some. No, no, I didn't watch these ones.
Okay, that's okay.
Um, I remember them pretty well, but 'cause they were just yesterday. But
Mm,
yeah, this person I played before one time, and they like massacred me. It was probably like a year ago or something.
yeah.
Um, and so I remember like getting into the games and thinking like kind of being a little anxious about it. I'm like, okay, I feel like I always remember players who like beat me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like what's it gonna be like? And the first thing that happened is like I don't think it's in these games, but like the first game of our friendlies, he I like took the first stock and then I like tried to like short hop laser, like just I don't know, like running around in the stage.
Yeah.
And I like accidentally got an up B somehow, and so I be back into the stage. And at some point in these games, I'm not sure, but I bet he's gonna like jump into the air and up B down at the ground. And he kept doing that like over and over again, like in the middle of stocks.
Uh-huh.
And it was just bothering me so much that he was
Yeah.
doing that.
That is a big thing with melee online nowadays. Is
Yeah.
people are just like very willing to like be like assume the worst of you when like
Yeah.
maybe you just mess up, and I mean that's an added layer of difficulty that um I know I didn't have to worry about all that much when I was getting good, because I played on like CRTs, and if you do that in person, it's like you're so obviously being a
Mhm.
dick to someone's face. People like are way less likely to do it.
Yeah.
That's also something to keep in mind, where it's like when people do that kind of stuff, you just have to let them kind of have their tantrum, and like you try and play the game to the best of your abilities.
Yeah.
I think it's really easy to get swept in. It's like there's so many times that I've been on unranked and I'm beating up a guy, and then he like obviously gets annoyed and then like taunts or something, and I'm like, wow, what a guy. But you
Mhm.
kind of just have to be like, okay, he taunted, and then just kind of click back into the game.
Yeah.
Um,
Just move on.
yeah, and there's like strategies you could do with that. There's like for some people who like get easily distracted and feel like they have trouble getting back into the game, something that you could do is like, and I'm not sure if you struggle with this, but I'm just gonna talk about it. Is it's like you could always specifically say what is happening on the screen. So it's like, oh, he jumped a top platform, or he's doing X, or we played X mix up, or whatever. Just like detailing things that happen within the match, and then like using that as your way to like get back into it, because you're forcing yourself to engage the thoughts that you would be using on like you know X random thing. You're now redirecting to specifically what's happening in the game. Um, so that's
Yeah.
like a really good way to go about grounding yourself, I think.
Yeah. I've never really thought about doing that, like actually being verbal about it.
Yeah.
But that makes a lot of sense. But I think I'll probably try that because I definitely do get distracted easily.
Yeah. That's something Null had to start doing, because Null was really bad about like in tournament he'd like just lose focus and then just like start playing like garbage, and it's like, okay, well,
Hmm.
you're gonna have to sit down and like make sure that you are zoned in every time you need to be zoned in, and if you ever drift away, it is your job to like fix that.
Hmm.
um and there's other ways, but that's like the most prominent way, and I think the most relevant for this specific position. um I think you want to just get into it,
Yeah, that sounds good.
start streaming. Okay. Let me do my session. Okay. Oh. I feel like I've learned so much in the past 3 seconds, having only seen 1.5 neutral interactions. And players like these are. It is very easy to like get distracted playing against them, because
Mm.
they play in a way where there's a lot of small moments where like there's kind of like unspoken rules of melee where it's like people it is generally accepted that this is like a X type of risk reward spot, and so you'll generally play it this way or whatever. But people like this fox generally tend to like ignore, or when people play like this fox, they generally tend to ignore those rules, and I think it's really distracting because you have like a completely different expectation. Like a really good example is it's like when this fox does this drill forward, there's no player in the world would ever think, oh, I just need to dash back grab fox, because what is the one thing that fox is going to do? It's going to be shining out, right? Fox is going to shine out of the drill, and then if you try and do this dash back grab, you're going to get shined, right? And that's like the generally agreed upon like baseline outcome. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so when something like this happens, the way that people play now is it's like they're like, okay, well, since I can assume that this thing probably won't happen because it's just like, no, you should never do this kind of thing. When you play differently, so it's like you shield, probably expecting like maybe for him to shine or maybe for him to do like a jump aerial or the full hop or whatever, then you just like get grabbed, and it's like super disorientating because it's like, what? I'm getting grabbed here? That's not like a part of like your mental image of this situation, right?
Yeah.
And I think that it is. I guess I have two thoughts where it's like it's important to like when things like this kind of happen, where it seems like a kind of fake, kind of random opening, and maybe if you have trouble judging if it actually is a fake opening, then like sit down and look at all the different types of openings they get and see if there's like a clear thing you could have done to beat it that was like probably like reasonably would be like a reasonable assumption where it's like I feel like looking at this back, it's pretty clear that like you could have just shined, right? For example.
Yeah.
And so when you see situations like this where it's like it looks like there could be like a clear like outcome that would have like easily won, then it's important to like take a step back and look at them and be like, okay, this is like the situation functions this way and has X option as like a baseline, right? And when you come across players like this, you have to like realize that they are ignoring X step of the equation and that you have to like check them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like my initial thought, and I think doing that's difficult. That's something I really struggled at. Is I was really bad at like realizing that these players do like they're like skipping whatever steps. I didn't see the steps that they're skipping, and then I'd be like, wow, I'm just losing so many like random interactions that I like don't feel like should play out the way they're playing out, and that's why, right? It's because the steps are getting skipped, and I'm not like actively picking on them. But once you like, the important thing is maybe if you don't have that knowledge currently with like when you're playing currently, man, it's like, okay, you just kind of have to like, you could either try and come up with something on the spot, which I think is probably inefficient, or like after the matches, just watch and like look intently. Because I definitely think, I don't know if you agree, but I feel like foxes of this play style have like a very specific feel to them. The way that I generally put it is I feel like I'm not getting treated like I'm a human being. I'm getting treated like I'm a bot, right? That's what I feel like. And so whenever that happens, it happens, you know, Fox is just like the most prevalent character because Fox has a bunch of options, but a bunch of people do this with a bunch of characters, and it's important to like realize it when it happens early, and then like know that the issue is that you are not realizing that they're skipping the steps they're skipping, and that you need to do something about it, because at the end of the day, it's your job to beat them for it, right?
Yeah.
So that's like my really big takeaway after watching for literally 3 seconds, right? And it's like relatively nebulous now because it's like, you know, you haven't started the process, but once you like play against more foxes of this type or watch more matches of foxes of this type, you'll be like, oh, I like can see kind of like the things that they're doing, and you can come up with ways to stop them. And we could go over some of those things in this lesson, but that's a really big thing to realize. I also think it's important to these players are really easy to get flustered playing against, and it's super important to be like, okay, whatever's happening is happening, and I either need to like buckle down and try and like understand what's happening, or just like be okay with some of the things that are happening and look more specifically for like the things I want to like practice, right? And it kind of goes back to some of the stuff we were talking about before, where it's like you just kind of have to zone out some things. some things are gonna go super poorly and it's gonna suck really bad, but you just have to like realize that they're happening and then decide to maybe turn off that part of your brain while you're playing, because it like you can't solve issues while also making decisions, right? It's too difficult, right?
Hmm.
So that's how I feel about that. Do you have any thoughts?
I think it all makes a lot of sense. I definitely agree that it's really weird to fight these kinds of players,
Yeah,
and I think like I probably just need to like watch it back and like find specific solutions for how to deal with it, because
yeah,
like you said, they do have like a very particular feel.
I totally
Um,
agree. Okay, well, keep on going. And I guess I'll point it out as it kind of comes up. But as we already talked about in this spot, you could shine, and Fox trying to like hit you directly will get shined. Like you can't do like drill nair or like drill bear or drill grab. It just isn't fast enough, so you'll be able to shine them first.
yeah,
A combo. I'll mess up ledge tech skill, and then pretty
yeah,
bad recovery. Yeah, you just have to like either side B like back here and do like a shorten or something, or you could side B right here and shorten, or just like make sure that whatever thing you do is actually above the ledge. Because now it's like this is probably a guaranteed kill.
yeah.
Okay, the fox messed up, but it probably should have been one. Because it's just like go on stage, realize that you're up being there, and then just walk for a down smash, and it covers literally everything.
Hmm.
I guess technically you can go up, but then you go up and then fall directly into Fox's arms. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's good. I think you should have shield grabbed that forward smash.
Instead of doing the shine.
Yeah, it's pretty important because a shield grab, getting a grab, like when you shine because there's the opportunity that you could get a grab, right?
Yeah.
Because you could like tech chase off of it, and so it's like why not just skip the step, the hard part, and just get the grab and combo off of it.
Hmm.
You kind of mess up your tech skill after the sub smash too. Yeah, kind of a
I
weird
think
roll. I'm not sure how you messed that up, but it's probably worth thinking about. It's like you probably should never like roll, you know. Maybe you tried to like dash or something, or like dash shield stop. I'm not sure.
I'm actually not sure. There was a lot of weird mess ups in this. I
Yeah.
remember.
Um, this side B from ledge should like never work if you're just dashing. You should be able to shield it on reaction.
He does it a lot, and I get hit by it a lot.
Yeah, you should just
Um,
shield if you're on the ground.
yeah.
Yep, there too. You just might have to practice that. Set up an Uncle Punch CPU to literally just like side B from the ledge, and then like either stall or side B from the ledge, and then just like react.
Hmm.
Because you should be able to, if you're like dashing or standing still or just like actionable generally, you should be able to shield that actually 100% of the time.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know why. I think what my intention was like when I see it, I like for whatever reason was gonna like try to dash away from it, like I'm gonna avoid it, which
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make any sense. But
I know you've lost the first stock, but I actually feel like I guess you didn't lose it. But you're in like this position, but I actually don't feel like neutral has gone that poorly. I feel like you just got hit and took like 60 off the first combo, and then
mhm.
haven't like done enough damage off your openings. But like so far, other than like getting hit by side beats from ledge, you have like neutral has gone relatively well. Um,
Mhm.
so I think that's something to think about. Is that like I think it's easy to get overwhelmed when there's like a bunch of small things going wrong, but you also have to realize the overarching um, things that are happening. Because it's
Mhm.
really easy to be like, oh my god, I just keep losing these two interactions over and over. And then when you take a step back, it's like, wow, that guy like could barely play neutral against me. And obviously that might not be the case here, but that will be the case sometimes. It's easy to
Yeah.
get distracted. I feel like you almost should never get hit by this bear. There's just no reason to, because it's like if you're in the corner like this at 100%, your goal is simply to not get hit. And so once you see him full hop, you should be like, oh, I can no longer get hit in this spot, right?
Hmm.
Because back like him doing full hop backer only hits so far. And if he really wants to get into the corner, he'd have to do like full hop, double jump, right? And you see how double jump is like a second thing to react to that would let you like
Yeah.
escape from the corner, yeah. And so I feel like you should really never get hit by the spare because our goal should be to avoid everything and then safely get to center, right? And I feel like running forward here isn't the like safe way to get to center here. You're kind of forcing it. You're like assuming he'd like drift back or something, and I don't think that's a good assumption to make. This is something small, not super important, but kind of to be aware of. Is that a lot of the time people do like slide off side B stuff on Shine. It's like the West Balls, you know? Have you seen West Balls do it? He just like gets shined off stage and then just like instant side Bs out of it.
Oh yeah, I have seen that.
Yeah. So that's something to be aware of. Not super important, but it is something to like know that could happen.
Hmm.
Cool. Um, this is fine. This grab is pretty bad. You thought that he would double jump and then land on the ground out of the double jump, but it's like, man, I feel like in like it's just like kind of unreasonable not to assume that he'd like end up on the platform just because you know he's double jumping from ledge, drifting forward. It's just he wants to be safe, so the platform is safe, right?
Yeah.
I feel like at this percent, since he's in lockdown percent, you could start doing stuff like zoning with bears or zoning with nair, and it's really hard for Fox to deal with since he doesn't have range to beat those options.
Hmm.
Wow, that was a horrible get up attack. What the heck? Get up tilt, bad tech chase. In this spot, you can't. You kind of see how you can't hit him before he hits the ground.
Hmm.
It's just like so low. And maybe your combo tree is bad. Maybe instead of doing the spare, what you could have done is you could have up tilted here and then done like a short hop nair that hits him right here once he's falling, right? Since he doesn't have a double jump.
Hmm.
It's like maybe that could have been a combo tree that you picked, or maybe you do like short hop up air or something.
Yeah.
But even with this bear that wasn't that bad, you just have to realize he's gonna hit the ground and then start tech chasing.
Yeah, I definitely just tried to like raw combo that.
Yeah, and it just super didn't have time.
Hmm.
Um, there's something
I
to
think
be
that
said to. Are you ego? What's up?
I was gonna say I think that that's like something I do a lot is playing when I am flustered and I'm playing the game.
Uh-huh.
I feel like the nature of my assumptions is like it kind of tips towards the direction of just being unreasonable all the
Yeah.
time, which
Mm-hmm.
I don't like. I need to like tackle that and see how I feel like anytime I'm actually going to make an assumption about my opponent, it needs to be like a reasonable assumption, not something that's like just a stretch of the
Yeah,
imagination, you know?
I agree, and I've had similar issues. Just simply have to make assumptions that fit within the game structure, because the game will always function a specific way, and if
Hmm.
your assumption doesn't make sense with how the game structurally functions, then it's like it'll never work, you know.
Hmm.
And I've had similar issues too, so I totally get it. But you just have to like, yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
Hmm.
That's really all I can say. I think once Fox gets to like the higher percents where like Nair and Bear starts knocking down, you could do a lot more like aerial and stuff plays to stop him from moving forward.
Hmm.
Because when Shield's really good is when you're at like pre knockdown or he's at like pre knockdown percent and like doing a Nair won't beat him, but you don't want to do something like as committal as like maybe short hop drilling, right? And so you
Yeah.
could like shield somewhat reaction, yeah, like pretty reactionarily and like get like a decent position. But once he's at like 73, it's like him beating you naring in almost any type of way is really hard, right? And so it's like,
Yeah.
why not just do a bunch of mixed up nairs, or why not do like a bunch of bears or something, right? It's just like more difficult to deal with.
Hmm.
And obviously, you should shield. This isn't saying that like don't shield when the fox is over 70 or whatever. It's just like, you have to change the risk reward changes.
Uh-huh.
I feel like this shield's pretty bad. I don't really know what you're shielding. Right? It's like you back your shield. What's he gonna
Yeah.
do? Know?
Yeah, that's weird.
You know? And things like these are like there's been a lot of really small mistakes where you've like misjudged or like had the wrong idea of a situation, and it's like they seem kind of inconsequential, but they add up, right? It's like
Mhm.
you bearing the shield means that you weren't dashing back, and so he got to roll for free or something, right? And now you're getting jabbed and could potentially die. Like that is what that means, It has like a very clear negative impact. Um, as for like combo stuff, at 81, you could just up tilt. You do turnaround up tilt on no DI, and it hits, and then you get like up tilt up air if they like DI somewhere over here, and if they DI far to the sides, then you could just like up tilt bear, up tilt nair. Does that make sense?
Hmm. What a percentage? Do you know what percentage up throw like on with no DI? So, you know what percentage the up tilt stops comboing if they don't DI?
Not exactly, but I do know that like it hits up until like 95 or something. Like that's like it. That's when I like use it. That's the last percent when I really is up till upper kills that percent.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay.
it works for all the percents where you could get either a combo or a kill off of it. That's all that really.
Okay, that's good to know. I don't know why. I kind of assumed that it would stop working like a lot earlier than that.
Yeah, you just have to change the way you do it because I think when you do up to that lower percents, the way the up tilt hits is you hit with like the part of the tail that's like down here. But when you're hitting with like up tilt at these high percents, you're hitting with like the top of the up tilt right here,
Hmm.
and so it like feels different, but it's this it all works.
Yeah, I'll just have to practice it, see how it feels.
Unfortunate side view off stage.
Hmm.
When you're at like these percents against Fox, it's really really important not to take any like bad or like weird risks because what happens is if you lose an interaction, so the way that like the dichotomy of it is it's like if you lose an interaction at 0 and he's at 90, this means that you could either immediately go down to 4 stocks to 2, or that like you could be like in the corner at 60 4 stocks to 3, which is like almost immediate death, right? You get hit
Yeah.
once you get edge guarded. And so it's like if you lose a single interaction in a way that's bad, like getting grabbed, getting up smashed, getting um like running shined, you just like have essentially thrown your stock away. And so you should like change the way you approach this kind of percent where you're really low and they're really high to like doing things that are explicitly really, really, really hard to punish. Like doing fade back nair stuff, doing full hop drift back stuff, doing full hop no fast fall stuff, doing like jump to platform back air stuff, right? Use the moves that have range and are difficult to directly interact with in like a consistent way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and it's like it's so important because there's so many times when you see Leffen playing against the Foxes Butterland, and they're like, "Ah, oh, fuck it, I'm a read Leffen," and they do like dash attack, and Leffen literally kills them instantly.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, well, you lost your chance of ever beating Leffen just because of that
Yeah.
one decision.
Yeah, I see that all the time. I feel like that happens literally every VOD I see of like Leffen specifically, but also other top foxes.
Yeah, Leffen's
Like,
really good at it, but like it happens so often. It happens when I play Cody. I play Cody and I'm like, damn, Cody's gonna do this dumb thing. I know what he's gonna do, and then I read him slightly incorrectly, and I lose my stock, and I'm down 4 stocks to 2, and it's like, wow, I don't think I could win. You know?
mhm.
It's like it happens all the time. It's just like they're like checking. They're like, is he gonna let me? Is he gonna give me this free opening? Oh, he will, and then they take it and kill you,
Yeah.
right? And I feel like here you kind of did that because I think you meant to like shield drop to the ground and then you try and do dash attack. I think no, you just dashed in, which still kind of just got hit. And so it's like in spots like these where you kind of just get hit and he didn't really even win a mix up, it's really, really important to see that and be like, I need to like make sure I know how to play these positions out. Because I feel like in a game like Melee, every time you should get hit, or you should be able to play in a way, theoretically at least, where every time you get hit, it means that your opponent explicitly outplayed you on some level. And they like had to do something to hit you, right? But I feel like
Yeah.
in this example at least, he didn't really do anything to hit you. He just like did a grab because he saw you land from from a shield drop that was really, really late. Like this grab was literally meant to whiff punish you doing like a no fast fall aerial from top platform out of your shield drop. Right? Like it was really bad, but it just ended up hitting the thing you were doing anyways, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is basically like one thing I've been thinking about is eliminating just getting hit out of random, and that's totally what this is.
Yeah, it's
Like,
hard, but
but it's I think it's helpful to like tackle the decision making that leads to getting hit out of random.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like here it was I wasn't playing safely. Basically, I like did some weird dash forward that like put me in a position where I could just get hit kind of randomly.
Yeah, and one thing that I feel like it's important to like kind of understand why you would make a decision like that, but I feel like why you didn't like realize, or maybe it's that you assumed that he would not try and grab something that was so clearly like unreasonable to try and grab, right?
Hmm.
Because it's like this grab would not work on any player in a million years ever unless they like stood still after landing or like assume that they wouldn't do the grab, right? And so it's like
Hmm.
I think that it's important to realize that like okay, I am this happened because I assumed that this situation would never play out this way, right? And that maybe that means that you didn't understand that that's actually part of the mix-up. Technically, this is a mix-up. You know, defining it as one feels disrespectful to a mix-up in itself, but like he is technically winning a mix-up.
Hmm.
But it's like important to be like, okay, well, this is like if I'm going to play this situation out, I have to make sure that none of my options actually like get hit by this thing that should never work.
Hmm.
And so it's like maybe that means you full hop and you will never get hit by this grabber. Maybe it means you dash back and dash dance further away, right? Or maybe it means that you double jump and go back to top platformer. Maybe it means you like up tilt in place, right? And
Uh-huh.
all of these things don't get hit by that grab or whatever, right? But the sentiment is just that you never make a decision that accidentally loses to something, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I feel like here's a pretty good example of him kind of doing something weird and you just letting him get away with it. So it's like the upper jab is like whatever. You can't really do anything about that. I'm pretty sure that's true pressure. But once he does this dash forward shield drop bear, this is just a shield drop drill. You just shield drop drill on top of him and he gets comboed, right?
Yeah.
And so that's like this is an example of him kind of doing something that's not that good, but if you aren't actually paying attention, he gets away with it, right?
Hmm. For
And
what
so
it's worth, I think I accidentally
you
rolled instead of
accidentally rolled.
coming.
I assumed, yeah, but it's important to point out situations like these, anyways, because it's like
Yeah.
it gives you a concept of like what it means.
Hmm.
Yep, and then he gets a bear. Really, okay. Now this is good. You used this one or this position where it's like he did something pretty bad, and then you were just ready to hit him,
Hmm.
and you didn't let like get flustered by the weirdness. In this spot, you grab ledge early to stop side B right, but you have to realize that he ended up being and do like a double jump refresh. And if you do a double jump refresh, it like lines up perfectly with the timing to like invincibly bear him like either up being straight or like whatever angle. Since he can't go to ledge, right?
Hmm.
Because this down smash could potentially not work if he just like does an up B that's slightly higher, or like I guess less horizontal, and drifts back without fast falling. It would just go and like avoid the down smash, but like still grab ledge, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was actually pretty unlucky. I think you meant to you tried to shield drop earlier, because if you look at your shield, what happens is you shield and then you start going down. But guess what happens? He like hits you, and then it like stops your shield drop or something, and
Yeah,
then
that's weird.
you get like shined because you try and shield drop after. That sucked. That happens though.
That's interesting. So when you get hit on shield, does it like reset the position of your shield and then you can't shield drop for a second? Like you
Yes.
have to.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Yeah. So when he hits your shield, what happens is like it's why have you seen like the up air shield poke thing on like
Uh,
it's like on Yoshi's I think.
if I'm thinking of the right thing, I think so.
Yeah,
But
it's just like someone can be shielding on the Yoshi's side platform, and then you like short hop up air under them. Why that works, even if they're like shield angling down, is when you shield angle or when you get hit, your shield gets hit out of shield angling. It like sets your shield to neutral for some like
mhm,
amount of time or whatever. For like I think it's the shield stun. So your shield's in neutral during all the shield stun, and then it goes back to the way that you're angling after shield stun. So what happens is you see how right now your shield's neutral, even though you're angling it forward and down. Like this
uh-huh,
is a neutral shield. But then look what's gonna happen after. It goes back to being angled forward, right?
uh-huh.
That's essentially how it works. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. It's not all that relevant, but it is a good piece of information to know.
Yeah, I just didn't even know about that at all. So that's good to know.
Yeah. I feel like you played this suture well, but then you like didn't believe that he was just gonna run off the platform. It looked like you like tried to bait it out and even punish it, but you just decided against it. You kind of see how you like ran forward and then like
Yeah.
didn't running shine. And I think you got away with something really, really bad. Like doing run off bear when you're dash dancing right here is like a nonsensical decision essentially.
Hmm.
And it looks like you were completely ready, but then you like give it up and then go really far away, right?
Yeah.
And then you play the situation after that as if you're close. And it's like, no, he just dashed all the way back to the corner, right? You stopped paying attention.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's easy. Again, this is an issue I had where it's like when something goes weird and I realize that the situation should have played out a specific way, but I like didn't recognize it or like did something poor. I I always like do the thing where I like don't react to the next situation or like react to old stimuli the next situation and then make a decision like this, right?
Hmm.
And I feel like it's really, really important in the spots where you mess up or do something weird or realize that something didn't go the way you wanted it to go to like stay engaged. You have to stay
Hmm.
present, essentially. Because that's also where foxes like these or players like these like get their advantage. It's like, oh, I didn't get punished for doing this horrible runoff bear, and then I get an easy neutral win. What? Right? It's like you just double whammied yourself.
Hmm.
So it's super duper big to be like when playing to be proactive about not like letting that distract me. Being like, okay, that happened, go back to playing. And it's the same. It's I guess it ends up being the same thing as all the other stuff we've talked about, where it's like you have to ground yourself and remember that you're playing melee and that there's things happening that are like out of your control. You know?
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it's gonna be nice. How did he get off stage? Oh, you shot. I was like, I feel like there's been so many times where the fox has just been off stage, and I don't know how that happened, but that one made sense. For the record, whenever you can, you should do turnaround wave dash to ledge instead of doing shine turnaround up B, because shine
Hmm.
turnaround up B is really slow compared to wave dash. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I kind of thought that. I kind of thought the same thing. I don't. I feel like I'm bad at gauging when I can do the turnaround wave dash back.
Mm-hmm. But in any time when you could do that like run off, shine, turn on, up B, you could do turn on wave dash essentially.
Okay,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
because literally, I think shine, turn on, up B is like 28 frames, I think, or something like that. It fluctuates. Maybe it's higher. I don't know, but turn around wave dash to ledge is like literally like I think 17ish frames if you do it perfectly. It's like, man, it is close to like being half the amount of time in some cases, right? And
Yeah.
so it's like it's a super big difference.
Is a wave dash 15 frames?
Wave dash is 13.
13? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Fox. I think Fox's is 3 plus 10, or maybe it's 12, but 13th is the actionable frame. I don't know. Regardless, it's somewhere like 13, 14 ish. So it's like really, really fast.
Yeah.
And then turn around, you do 1 frame a turn, and then assuming that you have to fast fall the ledge, I think that's like 2 or 3 frames. Oh, you just gave it to him. Yeah, you just didn't assume that he'd like do it. But with plays like these, it's also important to sometimes assume that they will just do it, or maybe always assume that they'll just do it.
Yeah.
Because for what it's worth, I also feel like you had no reason to dash back towards center there. Because like, look at where he's at on the stage, right? Whatever you do just puts you in his threat range.
Yeah.
And so I feel like either shielding or walking to the edge of the platform or running off the platform or maybe dropping through the platform are all like valid things. But doing things that move you towards him seems pretty like bad unless you're like able to, in terms of like vertical plane, be out of the way already. So it's like if you could have like full hopped now, then you could have been out of the way of him doing whatever like action he's doing. But you full hop then. Oh, this is I'm kind of confused by. I feel like you should have probably known that you were going to be actionable way before him, and like actually been able to play like an interaction on him rolling up. Because you couldn't react to the fact that he's just rolling up, right? You could see all this, and then just like maybe decide to run up, grab, maybe decide to shine, right? Because you can shine, and he's vulnerable right now, you know.
Yeah.
And I feel like this was probably a pretty free hit that you didn't take, and it's worth knowing that like that's how you interact with it. And then you kind of like shield dropped haphazardly. I think once you get up here, you saw him roll and were like, "Oh, I'm out," but you didn't realize the amount of time it takes for you to get out of lag of the full hop, like to land from the full hop, to dash back, and then to shield drop. It's important to judge those spots too, because I mean, you're getting hit. Oh, you should have gotten hit, I guess. He like, I think he messed up something. And then you do this weird up smash that's also like, you've had like multiple positions in a row where I felt like you just have not looked. And
yeah, it totally smells like just not looking at the screen.
yeah, and it's easy to be like, man, I should just look. But, do you have an exact plan for all these situations when they come up? Did you know that you have to shine the roll when you side B past him on ledge and he rolls up? Do you know that you have to, how to judge the frame advantage from Fox rolling to center stage when you're full hopping a side plat? Do you know how that generally plays out in terms of, frame advantage? Or do you know that if you get the shield drop while Fox is dashing forward, where he'll generally tend to end up if you do it at like a similar time, et cetera, et cetera? And like all these things are like things you have to understand at least intuitively. Like, grab was pretty bad. I feel like you could have just seen that he had like full hop nared, right? And if he full hop nairs, that means he can't fall through the platform. So you kind of just like whiffed with the grab. I feel like your out of shield game has also been pretty bad. There's been a few spots where you've like shielded and then done nothing. And I mean, we just had 2 back to back right here. It's like You shield, he lets you side B, he lets you shield, and you don't like try to roll. You don't try and shine at the shield. You don't try and spot dodge. You just like take it.
Mm-hmm.
Or like here, it's like you shield after this grab. I'm pretty sure, and I think he hits your shield, and then you don't like wave dash back, full hop. You just like sit there, and you even drop shield. So that's like something to think about too, where it's like in these spots where Fox hits your shield, do you have a plan for the various spacings that you end up at? And it's important to think about. This is good. I wish you shine instead of up tilting because his percent. If he doesn't get knocked down by up tilt, you could get shined. He's actionable for you. He could be shining right now. Also, bit of combo stuff. At this percent, you either up grab, you either re-grab or up smash. Does that make sense? Up tilt doesn't knock down. When up tilt doesn't knock down, it just don't use it. Against Fox specifically. Other characters it's different, but Fox falls so fast that like you end up being at frame rate disadvantage a lot of the time. Or like frame neutral or something weird. And then you kind of just random up smash. Right. Like you miss your combo, then we're like, I'm gonna play like I got it. And it's like you ain't got it. You already dropped it, right? It's not your turn. Yeah. There's a lot of donkey space stuff. It's like you see that he whiffs the grab as you whiff the drill, but you don't get it. You don't get to punish it because you drilled, right? You go through more landing lag. There, he grabs up tilt. That's also you have tech in place on every up smash. Probably not the most important thing, but it is good to know that you have tech in place every time you've gotten up smashed, and he's read tech in place every single time.
Yeah, I'm a Tekken placer. I noticed that so much. I do it so much.
It's good, but rolls are also good.
Yeah.
You also keep side being in the center stage, using it for this is the third or fourth time, and you should up B or side B the ledge. I think it's good. Oh, this one was since it hit the soft hit. You see how far away it is.
Yeah.
It's close, but sometimes you just can't actually grab it, and depending on like what part of the forward smash it hits, it's differently. It's kind of funny because I feel like honestly you've been playing neutral relatively well, or at least better than this Fox. But then like the one stock where I feel like you probably didn't really make that great of decisions, you just instantly lose it, right? And so it's like I feel like it's pretty clear when things are going like how like the tide of the match ends up going based on like your decisions, right? And so like when you see things like this happen where you like it's not like you got 0 to death instantly. It's like you played out a bunch of interactions, right? So it's like this happened, you have to be like, oh, I just like had a stock where I just played interactions and still lost it. What happened? Did I just get outplayed or did I misplay? And you have to like think about it. Oh. This is a recurring thing where I feel like I don't know if you're either trying to retech in place and you're going too early, or if you think that you can just get the hit before they land, but that's something that you should think about because you've missed 2 combos off of it.
I'm not sure what I was doing. I remember doing that on accident, the back throw.
That makes sense.
I didn't know how to like actually combo off of the back throw.
Yeah, you could just on DI in and DI way, you just like move to the spot that they land and try and tech chase. The other way, I think you can't easily hit tech in place or roll away, so you can kind of guess he's it, but also this is getting pretty close to the exact position I was talking about before, where it's like once you have like the percent advantage, you're not at knockdown, they are at knockdown. You have to like make sure that you're not giving them free hits. Like this bear's good, but then this snare ended up being bad because you like put yourself in the spot where like if he moves, you meet in the middle and you end up really close to him, right?
Yeah.
And it's like if you did like another bear, or you did like a nair that like hit right here, you do like dash back, dash forward, and air. This is like hard to deal with, you know. But you do like this, the wave dash back there, that puts you like way closer to him, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You also didn't shine after it, but nice. Oh, that grab was pretty bad. Speed through this. Just is it clear why that grab's bad?
Um, this is just unreasonable to assume that he's gonna run into it.
Yeah, it's just like you like grabbed at a
He
timing
just
that
he
wasn't to whiff
just
punish
nared.
the grab. Yeah, it's like he nared, and it's like you like kind of just grabbed as if you were able to grab the nair, but it's like you know how whiff punishing Fox short hop works. It's just like Fox's short hop is 15 frames, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like him doing an empty short hop. So it's like if that's 15 frames before he hits the ground, that is your entire. By the when you see him get in the air, he will be on the ground, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like you don't really get to just grab whiff punish an aerial, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why generally when people play the Fox though, they actually let people just whiff aerials a bunch and then play the mix up after, where it's like, oh, they read a dash back with running shine, or oh, they full hop the Fox doing like an up tilt or a shine, you know. But like
Mm-hmm.
you have to play um more indirectly or like for the second layer essentially. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, he read you. I do think though that you could do your up tilt slightly more like reaction, like you could react for like a few more frames, and you could like
Mm-hmm.
actually like discern whether he's gonna be dashing forward or full hopping, because it's important. Because if you wait
Mm-hmm.
like 3 more frames to check, you still hit dash in with up tilt, and then you can like up tilt late enough to hit full hop.
Mm-hmm.
Not every position where he's dashing is like that, but at this specific spacing, he's so far away, right? This is
Yeah.
like outside of the unreactable running shine range. Like unreactable running shine hits right here ish. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
you have this space to deal with or to work with. Right? Um. mm, uh. You could. You should CC after this dash attack. There's no reason not to. You like trying up tilt, but you could just crouch cancel. Oh, your up tilts honestly haven't been that great. Up grab. Nice. Kissing with forward smash is actually pretty good there. It's like a secret mix-up that no one does, but it's good. Okay. Well, I feel like in that match, the biggest issue was like it was kind of just the thing I guess we talked about initially, where it's like these spots are going poorly in ways that might not be the most obvious why, and you have to like sit down and kind of work with them. And I think we went over the solutions to most of these situations, but it's important to be able to recognize it on your own and like try your best to do something about
Oh.
it. And I think in the Ditto it's hard because there's a million things happening. Fox is super fast. The way it's super RPSy. There's a lot, but you have to sit down and do it at some point. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any thoughts before we wrap up?
Um, no, I mean, not really. I think one of the biggest things that has like stuck out to me is the way that I make assumptions.
Mhm.
Um, I think I just need to like be more reasonable
Yeah.
with the kinds of assumptions I make. I really like the point you had about like making assumptions within the framework of the game.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I think I'm gonna try to like I want to get a really like good understanding of the things that are important
Mhm.
in at various matchups. So today what I'm gonna do is I'm going to like basically try to write out like how to play matchups as I understand them.
Mhm.
And if it's cool with you, when I do that, uh, I might just send them to you and like see what you think.
Yeah, that's totally fine. That's exactly what I'm here for, right?
Hmm.
That's why we do
Yeah.
this. Yeah. So I mean, if you're down, I'm totally willing. And as per usual, you could always, if you don't want to do that, you could always ask questions about things and all this stuff. I'm always willing
Okay.
to answer. Um, I
Okay.
do have one thought though. Are you subscribed to George Fox's Patreon? There's actually a lesson that I just watched recently that covered a lot of the things that we covered.
I am.
Okay.
Which lesson is it?
I
Is
don't
it?
know if it's up, but it's um his most recent lesson with SFAT, and they did the Fox Ditto,
Oh, okay.
and it should be SFAT versus a green fox, which is Fat Goku, and I think Fat Goku is one of those types of foxes where it's like he like
Just
checks if
steps
you're
quicker.
doing good things or like gonna hit him for doing his bad things or not.
Okay.
And I think there'll probably be a good amount to learn. Maybe not directly, but like more about like I'm sure Sammy's probably more eloquent or experienced in explaining this thing, and you might learn a thing or two.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, I'll look for that.
yeah.
If it's not up, then I'll just keep my eye out.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay. Um, have a good rest of your day.
All right. You too.
Yeah, I'll talk to you later.
Yeah. Talk to you later. Thank you.